I never imagined betrayal would have a sound. Not shouting, not crying, just a quiet, hollow click inside my chest, like something important snapping without warning. My name is Ethan Hale, and the moment I opened that office door, my life split cleanly into before and after. I wasn't supposed to be there that afternoon. My wife, Lena Monroe, had told me she'd be working late again. Third time that week. I believed her because that's what loyal men do. They trust first and question later. But something felt off. A pressure I couldn't shake. So I left work early, drove across town, and decided to surprise her with coffee. Nothing romantic, just a small gesture to remind her she wasn't alone. Her office floor was quieter than usual. Lights dimmed, most people gone. I followed the familiar hallway, rehearsing a smile until I reached her boss's office. The door was half open, and that's when I saw her. Lena wasn't standing. She wasn't working. She was sitting on Mark Dalton's lap, his hands settled where they didn't belong, her head tilted back in laughter I hadn't heard in months. Intimate, comfortable, practice, time slowed. My brain scrambled for excuses. A joke, a misunderstanding. But there are moments your instincts don't ask permission. They tell you the truth before your heart is ready. I didn't clear my throat. I didn't step forward. I just stood there, watching the woman I'd built a life with forget I existed. If this moment hit you the way it hit me, take a second and hit like. It helps stories like this reach people who need to hear them. Mark noticed me first. His smile froze. Lena followed his gaze. Her face drained of color, then hardened. No apology. No panic, just irritation, like I'd walked in on something I wasn't meant to see. "This isn't what it looks like," she said, sliding off his lap too slowly to be convincing. I nodded once. Calm, almost peaceful. "You're right," I said. "It's worse." I walked out before she could say my name. That mattered. I refused to let her use it like a leash. The drive home felt unreal. My hand steady on the wheel. My thought sharp. There was no screaming, no tears, just clarity. People think revenge starts with anger. It doesn't. It starts with acceptance. That night, Lena came home late. She talked fast. Too fast. Excuses layered on excuses. Workplace stress. Mentorship. Emotional connection. She cried when she realized I wasn't reacting. I told her I needed space. Not time. Space. There's a difference. If you've ever ignored your gut until it screamed, drop a comment and tell me, did you sense something before the truth came out? The next morning, I reviewed everything. Finances, assets, accounts. I'd always handled the logistics. Not because I controlled her, but because she said it made her feel safe. Funny how safety becomes a weapon when respect disappears. Lena left for work thinking the conversation wasn't over. She was wrong. I wasn't plotting. I was reorganizing my life without her in it. By noon, I'd spoken to a lawyer. By 2, I'd separated every shared account. By 4, I'd documented everything. Dates, times, patterns, her late nights, her lies. Calm beats chaos every time. If you believe what she did cross a line that can't be uncrossed, comment the word boundary. That evening, I packed only what mattered. Clothes, documents, my watch. I left the house exactly how it was. No drama. No note. Just absence. She called. I didn't answer. I stayed with my friend Caleb that night. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. Men recognize that look in each other's eyes, the one that says something sacred just died. What surprised me wasn't the pain. It was a relief. I wasn't competing anymore. I wasn't shrinking myself to keep someone else comfortable. Stories like this aren't about revenge. They're about dignity. If you know someone who's silently enduring disrespect, share this story with them, not to stir anger, but to remind them they're not crazy for wanting more. By the end of the week, Lena realized silence wasn't a phase. It was final. Her messages shifted from defensive to desperate. That's how entitlement dies, slowly when access is removed. Before I tell you what happened next, and why her boss's confidence didn't last nearly as long as she thought, comment below. Was my silent strength or cruelty? Let's talk. And if you want stories that don't sugarcoat betrayal, that break down what really happens when respect disappears, like this video, subscribe, and tell me, would you have walked out that door or confronted them on the spot? The fallout didn't explode the way movies promise. It crept in quietly, through unanswered calls and missed expectations. Lena assumed silence meant shock, that I'd cool down, that eventually I'd want explanations, closure, maybe even forgiveness. She underestimated something important. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. 3 days after I left, her boss called me. Mark Dalton didn't sound like a man used to resistance. He introduced himself like his name carried weight, spoke carefully, almost politely. He said there had been a misunderstanding and that Lena was very emotional and deeply regretful. He suggested we talk man to man. That was my confirmation. When the third party reaches out, it means a private story is collapsing. I told him there was nothing to discuss. Then I hung up. What Lena didn't know was that I'd already forwarded everything to my lawyer. Not just the affair. The imbalance, the workplace connection, the leverage. Affairs feel powerful until they are documented. Then they are fragile. The next week unfolded like a slow unmasking. Lena showed up at Caleb's place unannounced. Red eyes, shaking hands. She said I was being cruel, that I owed her a conversation. I listened without interrupting. When she finished, I told her calmly that conversations are privileges, not rights. She asked if this was revenge. I said no. Revenge is loud. This was consequence. She told me Mark promised to handle things, that he'd take care of her if things went bad. I didn't correct her. People deserve to discover the limits of borrowed confidence on their own. 2 weeks later, the office rumor mill-toned. Not against Lane at first. Against Mark. An internal review. A pattern. Other names surfaced. That's how these things usually go. Affairs don't happen in isolation. They happen in ecosystems. Lena called me that night. Not crying. Panicked. Mark had distanced himself. Said he needed to protect his career. Suggested they cool off. She said she felt disposable. I thought about the months she'd made me feel invisible. I wished her well and ended the call. There's a strange peace that comes from watching the illusion break without touching it. The divorce process was clean. Not easy, but clean. I didn't ask for revenge. I asked for fairness. The law doesn't care about feelings, only facts. Facts were on my side. People ask if I ever missed her. The honest answer is yes. Briefly, I missed the idea of who I thought she was. But once respect is gone, memory can't keep it alive. The hardest part wasn't leaving. It was accepting that loyalty without reciprocity isn't virtue. It's self-abandonment. Months later, I ran into Mark at a grocery store. He looked smaller, older. He avoided my eyes. Power evaporates when secrecy dies. I felt nothing. Not triumph. Not anger. Just distance. Lena moved out of state. Last I heard, she was starting over. That phrase sounds hopeful until you realize it often means running from the same patterns. As for me, I rebuilt quietly. New apartment, new routines, mornings that felt lighter, evenings without tension. I didn't rush into anything. Healing isn't a race. It's a recalibration. What betrayal taught me wasn't how to punish. It taught me how to leave without begging, how to close doors without slamming them, and how to value myself without requiring validation from someone who forgot my worth. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: walking away doesn't make you weak. Staying where you're disrespected does. Some people mistake silence for submission. Others learn too late that silence is simply the sound of someone choosing themselves. I didn't wait to take revenge. I chose something far more permanent. I chose peace.